to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd, and your Philadelphia Union are going back to the Leagues Cup semifinals after they defeated Mazatlán on penalty kicks by a score of 4-3. And once again, it's heroics by Andre Blake, and I feel like we've talked about the heroics from him ever since he's been back from injury 7 games ago, and Andre Blake continues to prove why he is one of the best goalkeepers, if not the best in my opinion, goalkeeper in the league. Comes up huge last night in penalties, saving 2 of them. Comes up big in the 86th minute, keeping the score level at 1 apiece. Andre Blake, a fantastic performance from him in net for the Philadelphia Union. And so we'll get my thoughts from that game. We'll go ahead and hear a whole bunch of clips from Jim Curtin. We'll go ahead and hear a clip from Mikael Uhre, from Leon Flock. What else do I have lined up here? We'll go over the 3 stars of the game. No blunder of the week unless you guys have something that you guys want to nominate to me live, because we are live on YouTube, even though still got to get this figured out, honestly, where I schedule a live broadcast and it doesn't broadcast out to you guys. And so then it's like, what's the point? What is the point? And, now that I'm thinking about it, I said, you guys give me nominations for Blunder of the Week. We know exactly who we're giving Blunder of the Week to. Yes, they don't really involve soccer, but it is this streaming platform that we're using, Riverside. They are going to get Blunder of the Week. Absolutely horrible service. But maybe they can redeem themselves if their customer service wants to help out any. But yeah, we'll go ahead and talk about the game against Mazatlán, 3 stars, Blunder of the Week, and we'll go ahead and talk about news. I told you guys last episode that there was transfer news that we weren't going to get to, and we would save it for this episode. We talked about how José Martínez was pretty much official. It wasn't official yet. It's still not official, but Jim Curtin last night pretty much confirmed it. The players pretty much confirmed it last night in the mixed zone. So we'll go ahead and talk about transfer news, José Martínez, other news that the Union wound up making before the close of the transfer window. So with all that said, let's get straight into the news. All right. So before we start with the Philadelphia Union portion of this, let's go ahead and talk about Charlotte FC. They have signed attacking midfielder Pep Biel on loan from Olympiacos in Greece. He's a 27-year-old on loan until the end of the 2024 MLS season. Charlotte, they have a purchase option. He has scored 53 goals, 41 assists, and 277 professional appearances. Played at FC Copenhagen, FC Augsburg, FC Real Zaragoza. And so he has experience playing in multiple different leagues in Europe. And what's interesting about this is we saw FC Cincinnati be linked, try to bring in Miguel Almiron, the former attacking midfielder for Atlanta United, who's now at Newcastle United. They couldn't get a deal done, and so they go out and go with their third option at attacking midfield. They try to bring in a attacker from Feyenoord. That deal didn't wind up working out, and so they go with a third option. And the good thing for Charlotte is this is only a loan. They have the option to make it permanent if he winds up working out for them. But if not, then they go again. They go again in the wintertime, which we all know that's when MLS teams are more active in the transfer window in the winter. So let's go on to the next bit of news involving Minnesota United. They have signed midfielder Joaquin Pereira from Atletico Tucumán. He's a 25-year-old, signed for $3.3 million. Pereira has 6 goals, 16 assists, and 194 appearances. He has played twice for Argentina's U20s. And so we continue to see the league get younger. We continue to see the league sign promising players that have played at the youth level with national teams. And we'll get to a move that I don't agree with here in a bit, which MLS has no reason signing these types of players. And I think me hinting at that, you guys already know the player I'm talking about. But yeah, there's a good move by Minnesota United, who had a really, really good transfer window. They sit in 9th place in the Western Conference. FC Cincinnati, they have acquired forward Nicholas Gioacchini on loan from Italian Serie A side Como 1907. We remember that Nico played with St. Louis in MLS last season in their debut. He had 10 goals, 1 assist. He's a 24-year-old. And again, this is just a loan for FC Cincinnati. No deal to make this permanent. So it's it's a move where, look, Cincinnati, they needed a striker with everything we talked about with Bupenza last week, no longer at the club. Apparently, they tried to get Josh Sargent, but they couldn't come to an agreement with Norwich. And so FC Cincinnati go out and they sign Nico, who has experience with St. Louis and with Orlando City. Moving on, staying in the Eastern Conference, New England Revolution, they have acquired Al Hassan Youssef from Belgium top flight side, Royal Antwerp, a 24-year-old, $2 million fee, 6 goals, 16 assists in 195 career appearances. And he has 6 caps with the Nigeria national team. And again, just like we were talking about Minnesota, these are the types of players that MLS teams should be going at. Young players that haven't hit their prime or about to hit their prime, players that have experience with their national teams. And it doesn't have to be top national teams, but regardless, having experience with a national team. It's a good move by New England, who we talked about it last episode. Stayed really, really busy this transfer window, moved out a lot of pieces, but they're going for it. They're going for it this season, and they're also going for it to set themselves up perfectly for the winter time. So I like this move by New England. And then the move that I hinted at, the one that I don't like at all, that is the LA Galaxy have signed Marco Reus. It is a TAM signing. It is reported by LA Galaxy. He's a 3-time German Bundesliga player of the season and a 1-time UEFA Team of the Year honoree. He has 239 goals and 163 assists in 628 professional matches. And why I don't like this move, it's because he's old. He's old. These aren't the type of signings that LA Galaxy, that MLS should be going at. And I know we saw LAFC go out and sign Olivier Giroud, but let's face it, Marco Reus at 35 years old, his legs are gone. His legs are gone. And for a high scoring team that we see the LA Galaxy are this year in MLS, yeah, I don't know how he's going to keep up with the intensity, the pace of that squad. But it's not Union fans' concern. But this is one that I can see wind up becoming the Steven Gerrard signing they made years ago, where it's just a name, and we saw how well that worked out for LA Galaxy, and they've swung on older players in the past, and those moves have worked out, but. Like I said, Steven Gerrard didn't really work out. Ashley Cole didn't really work out. We'll see. We'll see if Marco Reus is going to work out for the Galaxy. But I don't know. At 35 years old, yes, he scored a lot of goals. Yes, he's assisted a lot. So did Steven Gerrard. But I don't understand this move other than it just being a name. And you had the reports that Charlotte wanted him. There was reports that St. Louis wanted him. Charlotte had Marco Reus's rights, and so they got $400,000 in GAM from the Galaxy to transfer his rights so LA could sign him. But again, I don't think this is the type of signings that MLS teams need to be making. But look, it's not the Union's problem. But moving on to the Philadelphia Union, there's 3 moves that I want to talk about. 2 that are official, 3 that hasn't been announced by the club, but we all know that it's pretty much official. The first one being Philadelphia Union have announced that they have recalled homegrown forward Nelson Pierre from Sweden, and they will loan him. They have loaned him to USL club side Charlotte Independence. He only made 3 appearances in Sweden. This is a loan that did not work out at all for Nelson. Union thought that, he was a little bit too good for Union 2. He had 48 appearances, 9 goals, 6 assists with his time with Union 2. They opted to send him to Europe to get him more experience. That experience never came, and so now they're moving him to Charlotte Independence for the rest of the season. He'll go and reunite with former Philadelphia Union homegrown Anton Sorensen, and we'll see if Nelson can get that consistent playing time that he once had with Union 2. He did not wind up getting in Sweden. Moving on, though, to another deal by the Union. They have announced that they have sold Sanders Ngabo to Danish second division side, AC Horsens. He never made an appearance with the Union's first team. He made 17 appearances this season with Union 2, had 3 assists. And the good thing about this move is look, things aren't always going to work out. Deals aren't always going to work out. We get that, right? But this opens up an international slot for the Union, and this is huge for next season. Yes, it technically opens up an international slot right now, but the window's closed now in MLS, so it's not going to do the Union any good. Does them good for next season and allows them to be more aggressive in the transfer market in terms of signing international players because we saw the Union accumulate a ton of GAM. And once the Union make this selling of Jose Martinez official, MLS announced a new rule of this summer where any transfers that teams make, they can apply up to $3 million if they got that in the transfer fee towards GAM per player. And so if the Union wanted to, not saying they're going to, they could apply all $2 million that they got for Jose Martinez to next year's budget in GAM, which now gives the Union an opportunity to go out and sign even more players, which we'll talk about that in a bit. Jim Curtin was asked about that. Does it feel like this is your best chance this season to win League's Cup, to win a trophy? Because it seems like the team is now officially coming to an end of an era, which speaking about Philadelphia Union are on the verge of selling Jose Martinez to Corinthians in Brazil. It's reported to be a $2 million fee plus a sell-on clause. Jose Martinez is 30 years old, and fans are pretty upset, wondering, we could get even more money for Jose Martinez because transfer market told us. And I don't disagree, but what I do agree with is this was the time. If you were going to sell Jose Martinez, this was the time because his value is never going to be higher than what it was. He had a fantastic Copa America with Venezuela. You saw Jim Curtin mention it. If you guys looked yourself, Jose Martinez was in a lot of those team of the season sheets. And so fantastic for Jose to get this move to a top side. And look, he was pretty adamant with Jose Nunez, who I know is in the live chat here with us. He said, yeah, he would love to come back to Philadelphia Union one day and retire. And maybe that does eventually happen. We'll see if Corinthians announce how long that Jose signed that deal for once they announce that. But I don't know. Maybe Jose Martinez winds up coming back to Philadelphia Union one day. But you're getting $2 million for a player that, okay, you have Jesus Bueno, you have Leon Flock, who can replace him this season. And then, like I said, the Union collected a lot of GAM for next season. This winter, you go all in for a defensive midfielder, I would imagine. Probably another striker. Yes, it's uncertain what Sam Adeniran's going to do. Maybe you have the opportunity to get a better striker than Sam Adeniran. I'd imagine a center back's probably going to be on the Union's list, and maybe another midfielder. So we'll see what the Union do this upcoming window in the wintertime. But look, I know we still have this season to get through, but it is something to pay attention to and keep in the back of your mind that the Union are potentially going to have a big window. Yes, part of that money is going to go do contract extensions, I'm sure, pay raises for players, et cetera, et cetera. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Union have a big window because of all the money that they've accumulated this past season. Just getting back to Jose, 148 appearances for the club, 3 goals, 10 assists in 11,723 minutes. And I think it begs a question of, should Jose Martinez be in the Ring of Honor, join the club in 2020? And we'll talk about my 3 favorite moments, my most memorable Jose Martinez moments here in a bit. But Jose's meant a lot to this club, and he's started, what I think this club going on the up. Yes, 2019 when the club won the first playoff game against New York Red Bulls, you can say, okay, Ernst Tanner's first official season, full season, is what transformed that. But, you look at the pieces that he brought in during that 2019 season. Kai Wagner is the only one still at the club, I believe. Somebody in the comment section correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe from that 2019 transfer window, the only player still at the club is Kai Wagner. And then in 2020, you bring in Jacob Glesnes, still at the club, obviously. You bring in Jose Martinez, still at the club. These are key players, key pieces that have helped you win the Supporters Shield, the Eastern Conference Final against New York City in 2022. These players have helped you go to the MLS Cup in 2022. These players have played in big moments for the Union, and at the center of that is Jose Martinez. Yes, he's not had the greatest start to the season this year. Once he came back from Copa America, was fantastic with the Union. Was fantastic, and it's disappointing, right? That knowing Jose Martinez only has the Supporters Shield to show for, and you would expect that with how successful this team has been in terms of wins, that they would have more trophies to show for. And unfortunately, no, no. And maybe the club comes away with a trophy in League's Cup, yes, in the semifinals, and I think they do have a real legitimate chance at lifting a trophy this year. Yes, you have to go to Columbus. It's going to be a difficult place, and we can talk about that here in a bit. But yeah, it's a shame that Jose only has one trophy to his name. He was included in the 2023 MLS All Star team, which I don't know about you guys, but I don't really think anything much of the MLS All Star game. It's like you have fans that are voting for that, and I think media gets a vote. But yeah, I mean, it's basically a celebrity concert, and I feel the same way for all sports. We have a couple comments coming in here from Jillian. She says on YouTube, he embodied Philly. There's a reason you see Martinez jerseys everywhere in the stadium, and I agree. You see so many Martinez, El Brujo jerseys, and it's tough. And that's a jersey that, maybe some fans are going to feel sad about that. Yeah, well, he's not on the team anymore. Should I wear this? Should I not? No, I think you should, absolutely, because of what he's done for this club, what he's meant for this club. And yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm repeating myself now for the fifth time, but it's sad that he leaves the club without winning a major trophy. And yeah, I guess you can say the Supporter Shield's a major trophy, but everybody's still going to say there's an asterisk on that because it was the COVID season. But I want to play a clip from Jim Curtin just talking about the player Jose Martinez is, and then we'll play a clip. Jose Martinez had a funny moment, or maybe not a funny moment, a serious moment Jim Curtin shared with us. I've never heard this story before, and we'll play that after the first clip. So this is Jim Curtin on what Jose Martinez has meant to the club, the player that Jose is.
Jose is a winner, first and foremost. He is one of one, is the best way I can put it. There won't be another Jose Martinez here at the Union. He is not replaceable. He's a guy that, again, I owe a ton of my success at the club, whatever small amount of success I've had. I owe a lot to Jose and what he's brought. He is a guy that, wears his heart on his sleeve. I think, again, the fans see how hard he works every day, what he puts into the game. And he gave the Philadelphia Union a lot of amazing victories. We also had some difficult defeats, but I think we've become a stronger club because of Jose Martinez and all that he's brought. He'll now, again, at this point, it's no secret, paperwork-wise, and signing this or signing that. I think I can talk openly now. He'll go to one of the biggest clubs in South America, which is an honor for him, I'm sure. But again, he will be missed. Like I said, one of one, not replaceable, an incredible person, incredible human being, a guy that I bonded with while we're maybe very not the same. We're not the same on or off the field, but I think we do both have the same desire to win and have success. And the cool thing I always say about this sport is what it allows. You can come from a million different places in the world, a million different countries. But the greatest thing about this game is when you cross the white lines, you can be whoever you want, and you can be a different person. So I think I'm quiet and cerebral, but I wasn't a nice player. Jose is both. He's the happiest guy in the world one moment, and he can turn in a second when he crosses the white lines and wants to win a game. So I love that about him. It means he cares. You can tell by the emotion that he has now in his interviews in the locker room behind closed doors. This club means a lot to him. Sorry, I'm talking a lot about him, but he means a lot to me too. So,
yeah, I don't think anybody has any complaints about Jim Curtin going on a long talk there about what Jose Martinez means to him, about what he means to the club. And yeah, I mean, Jim summed it up pretty perfectly there. And I'll go ahead and pull up another comment here on YouTube from Franco. He said, "I'm still sad. It's like a member of my family leaving." And you're absolutely right, Franco. I feel the same way too. And I don't know what you guys listening to the podcast, whether live or listening to it in your podcast feed and whatnot, but the one song that keeps going through my voice, or my head, I should say, is "Goodbye" by Cage the Elephant. Just such a sad song. It's like last night was such a somber moment because yes, the Union won, and I said this on the AAT Sports feed with Jose Nunez and Mike Barrera, where the number one word that came to my mind was emotional. And I still am emotional because whether you're in the media or whether you're a fan, and Jose Nunez and I talked about this on the phone this weekend, it seems like we spend more time at that stadium with these players than we do sometimes our own family. And these players, these members of the coaching staff, this organization, they feel like family. And Jose Martinez has been with the club for 4.5 seasons. And to see him leave, I mean, it's going to be different. And I felt the same way with Julian Cronzen. That's why I didn't want to talk about Jose Martinez leaving last episode, because a player that's been here for 4.5 seasons deserves a long bit of time to be spoken about. And it's very emotional. And you can tell Jose Martinez actually after the game in his post match interview with Apple TV, he was crying, he was getting upset, and it was pretty touching. I mean, this is a player that leaves everything on the field. This is a guy who you don't want to get into a street fight with, but you can tell that the emotions were getting to him last night, and it was tough. It was really, really tough seeing Jose upset on the field, and credit to the Union for allowing him to bang the drum before the game. And then after the game, him and his fellow countryman, Jesus Bueno, also were on the field to bang the drum one last time together. And yeah, I mean, I agree, Franco. It feels like we're losing. We're losing a family member, and it's tough. It's tough when you get these guys that just feel like family. And I never got to speak to Jose Martinez just because I don't understand Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, but yeah, I mean, seeing this guy in the locker room all the time, just smiling, just having a party, win, lose, or draw. I mean, this guy embodied, like Jillian said, everything Philadelphians are about. Another comment by Jillian here said, "I'm glad Jose got a proper send off. It was emotional and authentic and worthy of the player he is." And yeah, that's also a good point. I feel bad for Julian Kranza that he never got that send off that he deserved as well. Yes, he was here in less time, but Julian Kranza was a fantastic player. And I think, we'll all remember the goals that he scored, how much that he led this team to the success in 2022 that they had, winning the Eastern Conference Final. He scored a goal against New York City in that game. He played well that whole season, leading the Union to MLS Cup. And we don't have to talk about what happened in MLS Cup, but it was disappointing that Jose was able to get that send off. He deserves it 100%, but you kind of wish that Julian Kranza would have got the same send off as well. Bruce chimes in here, says, "Even off the field, he was such a pleasure to talk to. He treated my sons like family." That's a fantastic message right there, Bruce. And by the way, thank you, Bruce, for chiming in. Haven't sent you a text in a while, so I hope you and the family are doing well. But I'm glad to see you chiming in here live on YouTube as we are live. If you guys aren't listening to this live with us, join us next time. Still hiccups. We'll still try to make this as best as possible. Only the second time that we've gone live on YouTube. Yes, I've done a whole bunch of live appearances on other shows, but myself with this podcast, first time ever, second time now ever going live. Franco says on YouTube, he's a ring of honor for me as much as Ale and Andre. And yeah, it's funny that you bring up Ale and Andre. I posted a picture that the Union took last night of Alejandro Bedoya and Andre Blake, and they're just cheering with the fans there, have their arms around each other. And between the two of them, Alejandro Bedoya and Andre Blake, 567 appearances for the club in four 48,336 minutes played. Two absolute legends. And when it comes time for both of them to hang up their boots, they'll definitely both be in the Ring of Honor. I would be curious to see what other fans think. Is Jose Martinez worthy of going into the Ring of Honor? Do you think in his 4.5 years at the club, is that worthy enough to be in the Ring of Honor? Jillian chimes in once again and says, though we heard Julian didn't want to do a big to do, which kind of checks with the person he is. I didn't hear that, but that does make sense that Julian is a pretty quiet person, but anytime that you got to speak with him in the locker room, very, very respectful guy. And yeah, I mean, it sucks. It sucks. I mean, maybe Julian really didn't want that. And I wish he would have because he scored a lot of goals for this club. But Jose Martinez definitely deserved the send off that he got last night. And so we'll play one more clip here. Hopefully it doesn't echo for you guys on YouTube. Again, let me know if it does. I know when you guys are listening to this on Apple, Spotify, and everything, the audio is crisp. But with Riverside or whatever, unfortunately, it's not. But this is Jim Curtin telling a story about Jose Martinez going away because of COVID. The whole team obviously went away for 3 months. And so Jose Martinez went back home to Venezuela and got super duper fit. And so this is Jim Curtin after the game telling that story.
For a kid to come to the Union, kind of unknown, a hard worker, had a lot of athletic qualities that we liked a lot. Again, I've told this story before, but he has the game against LAFC where we kind of throw him out there because of a shortness of players, and he rose to the occasion, right? Comes off the field bloody in the 3-3 LAFC game, and that's where Jose Martinez, the legend, started. Then COVID happened, and he went home and came back from COVID, which was about a 3-month break, and I said he came back so fit. I've never seen a human being come back so fit. And I asked him, "What did you do?" And his English is limited, and he just said, "I run on the beach by myself," and it was unbelievable. I mean, he came back at a level that year where he just treated the COVID break differently than most other players, and that propelled us to our first trophy, and he's a big part of that. And then the rest is the rest. I'll live through all the yellow cards, red cards, all that stuff. I love it because he cares and he wants to win. So great player, great person, and he'll be missed. I'm sure I gave the guys off tomorrow, so I'm sure they'll be having fun with Jose tonight too. So that's okay by me. They deserve it. And one last hurrah, one last dance, and I have love for Jose.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't love Jose Martinez? And yes, he's got a lot of yellow cards. He's got red cards in his career, but a player that came to America, and I don't know if fans realize this, but when he came to Philadelphia, that was his first time ever playing outside of Venezuela. He had never left the country before. And so COVID happens, and you got to imagine, I mean, a player that had never left home before, now the whole world shuts down because of COVID. That's pretty scary, not knowing anybody in this country. And then you go back home and you go and get even more fit. You get an opportunity to start against LAFC. We all remember the pictures of Jose having blood all over his shirt, blood coming down his nose. And like Jim said, I mean, that was the legend, the start of Jose Martinez, which is one of my top 3 Jose Martinez moments. I want to know, you guys in the comments, you guys listening to the show, reach out to me on Twitter at Free Kick Pod if you guys aren't listening live. And let me know your top 3 Jose Martinez moments. I know Jillian and Kyle Almany are also talking about that on their show, so I'm sure they will appreciate you guys leaving comments on their Twitter, Instagram, and all that stuff as well. I believe it's the one team we agree on. I don't know. I forget what it is. I know Kyle messed it up, Jillian, and I'm sure Jillian will be in the comments giving Kyle crap for messing up the Twitter handle. But type in the one team we agree on, and you'll find them wherever you get your social media accounts. But yes, the bloody nose Jose Martinez is up there for me. The goal scored against Orlando City last season to tie the game at 2 apiece. How many of you guys remember that yes, tied the game up, but it was in the 90th minute? That was a huge moment last season for the Union. To see Jose Martinez score a goal from distance, how many times have we seen him shoot from outside the 18-yard box, and he finally has one go in? And then I feel like once I went in, we started seeing Jose shoot even more from outside the box. He scored against New York City and Cincinnati also, I believe, last year, all outside the box. And yeah, there's a guy who was not afraid to give you the spectacular. And it did wind up happening on more than one occasion. And I think for me, probably my number one moment for Jose Martinez was winning the Eastern Conference Final championship in 2022. Jim Curtin's giving his press conference, and Jose breaks into the press conference room, and he starts telling Jim Curtin, "Hey, come party with us! Come party with us!" There's videos of that going on Twitter right now. I'm sure I could put it back in this video for you guys if you guys want to see it if you're not listening live. But it was so funny to me. I mean, Jose Martinez goggles on his face, has champagne in his hand, and he's telling Jim Curtin, come celebrate. And Jim Curtin has the biggest smile on his face. I've never seen Jim Curtin smile and laugh like that. He was laughing the whole time just because Jose Martinez wanted his coach there, wanted his coach to come and celebrate with all of the players after beating New York City 3-1 and going to MLS Cup, the first time ever in club history. And Jose Martinez was fantastic in that game. And I remember Jim Curtin said at one point, Jim told Jose, yeah, give me 30 seconds. Jose leaves the room. And then after Jim Curtin gives his answer to somebody asking a question, nobody else wanted to ask any more questions. And Jim's like, what, are you guys all afraid of Jose? Yes, we absolutely are. After Jose Martinez wanted to bring you into the locker room and interrupt your press conference, yeah, nobody wants to get into a fight with Jose Martinez. Nobody wants to piss off Jose Martinez. And Jim Curtin jokingly said, he's the one player that I never was able to control, but a fantastic player. And like I said, I mean, really, really sad, really disappointing that wasn't able to win more trophies, championships with the Union, but the legend of Jose Martinez will live on. Again, want to know, do you guys think that Jose should be included in the Ring of Honor? I'll go over his stats one more time. 148 appearances, 3 goals, 10 assists, 11,723 minutes played in all competitions. Not bad stats there for a defensive midfielder that spent 4.5 seasons in Philadelphia. But let's go ahead and talk about this game. Philadelphia Union versus Mazatlán. And this was not that entertaining of a game, in my opinion. What happened afterwards was way more entertaining than the game itself. So we'll see how long we talk about the game. But Andre Blake, like we said in the intro, heroics once again. 2 saves in the penalty shootout, had a save in the 86th minute off of a set piece, off of a header. The Union do concede a goal off of a set piece in this game, which they've been really good this year, really solid, and they've been solid defending set pieces ever since Frank Leich has taken over for set pieces in 2021. But they concede a set piece in this game, almost concede a second. And Andre Blake, I don't know how his reactions are as good as they are. He gets this ball, pushes it onto the crossbar. Union do a good job just to clear it away. And you felt after Mazatlán scored that goal to tie the game up at 1 apiece, you felt they kept putting more and more pressure on the Union. And yes, it doesn't help that the Union got a red card or 2 yellows that went to a red card for Todd, which we'll talk about that moment here in a bit. I do agree that the first one was a joke. Todd shouldn't have been sent off, but regardless, once you go to the monitor and initially said red card, you know it's going to be overturned to a yellow card. And since he was already on a yellow, it's going to be an automatic red. But you had the big one-on-one moment in this game from Mikael Uhre, which he gets stuffed by the goalkeeper in the 46th minute. And I had a feeling that moment was probably going to come back and haunt the Union because they were down to 10 men. You come out of the break with a huge opportunity. Mikael, right before the break, scores an outstanding goal. And he said it after the game that was one of his best goals that he's ever scored for the club. Had no reason to score that, honestly. It's a good ball played in by Jack McGlynn. You have Mikael running down the left touchline, and then he chips the goalkeeper and puts it into the goalie's left corner. I mean, it's fantastic finishing by Mikael Uhre there. We'll talk a little bit better later here about Mikael. But all in all, you know, the Union did enough to survive and advance. And I feel like that's been Jim Curtin's catchphrase for so long now, surviving and advancing. And that's exactly what the Union did against Cruz Azul. That's what the Union did against Mazatlán. Took care of business against Montreal and Cincinnati last Tuesday. Now they have a tough game against Columbus Crew this Wednesday night. And by the way, the Union was supposed to take the Crew on on August 24th in the MLS regular season. But because both teams are in the semifinals, that game has now been pushed to August 28th at 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday night. And so the Union, regardless if they're going to the final or third place game for a Leagues Cup, they will play that match on August 25th on a Sunday. And so there's going to be one more game at Subaru Park for Leagues Cup, and we hope the Union will be there for the final, because yes, we would like to see the Union win a final. Two wins away from being in that final game, and for a minute there, it looked like it could potentially be Club America, but they lose on penalty kicks to Colorado Rapids last night. Zach Steffen, the Philadelphian, or Pennsylvanian, I should say, former Philadelphia Union Academy player, heroics last night for the Rapids, saved two penalty kicks, or saved one. The goalkeeper for Club America missed one, and then he also scored one. Zach Steffen. Keegan Rosenberry, former Philadelphia Union player, also converted for the Rapids in the penalty shootout. But the Rapids going on against LAFC, and I'm sure you guys are tired of seeing the Union and LAFC potentially play in all these finals, but wouldn't the Union like to get one back? Yes, I know Leagues Cup won't make up for what happened in MLS Cup, but look, could happen. Another final against LAFC. I do want to talk about the team's fight despite being a man down. The first yellow card, I think it's a joke. You always get contact on set pieces. You always see defenders and attackers always grabbing onto each other's jerseys, always pushing each other away, just trying to create that separation. Because all you need is a little bit of separation to potentially get your head on a ball, or maybe a loose ball, and you can kick it into the back of the net. And so the referee originally warns Todd Veribo. Ty and the defender have another coming together. The referee decides, hey, look, I'm giving you a yellow card after I just warned you. And then again, Todd Veribo and the defender have a come together moment again. And the referee says, oh, this is violent conduct, straight red card. They go to VAR. And once you go to VAR, he's probably going to overturn that, but it doesn't matter because that red card's going to be overturned to a yellow card. And he was already on a yellow, so it means you're off the field regardless. And yeah, that was a terrible, terrible call by the referee. And so Jim Curtin was asked after the game and speak about his team's mentality to be down a man and just all the stoppages in that game. Those games are extremely hard. And this is what Jim Curtin had to say on that.
We didn't start the game the right way. I talked about it all week, so I hate that we underestimated them a little bit, but they're a good team. They're really tough to break down. They were organized. They're well coached. Their coach is a legend and has coached a lot of big places. So again, we weren't ourselves at the beginning of the game, and to their credit, they took the game to us for the first 35 minutes. It actually took the red card to happen to kind of wake us up and get to the intensity of the game. That shouldn't be the case, but our group sometimes doesn't do things by the book or normally. But when we did wake up, Mikael scores a really, really good goal on a counterattack. We make it hard on ourselves and have to defend down a man for a long period of time. We talked also about how they are good at baiting you into, the yellow cards and the nonsense, and we got caught up in that. I don't think either of Ty's is really a straight yellow, but once he gives a straight red on the one, he can only reduce it to another yellow. So we knew instantly it was done, regardless of the review of the VAR, because no referee will downgrade themselves into saying, I made such an egregious error that it's actually nothing when I gave a straight red. So we were in trouble there. And then from there, we have to hang on. Like you said, the group showed heart, character, whatever word you want to use, guts, passion. But we survived and advanced, and we have the best goalkeeper in our league. So again, that also plays a big role.
And see, there's Jim Curtin once again saying his famous catchphrase, surviving and advancing, even though I don't think that's specific to Jim Curtin. I'm sure all coaches say that. But yeah, I mean, it's a dumb decision by the referee, who I thought in that moment lost control of the game. You're always going to have contact on set pieces, just like I said. Yes, that's fine. Give a warning to Ty Bribo, but at the same time too, look at the defender baiting. And Jim Curtin said that, we talked all the week that Mazatlán are good at baiting you into stupid challenges, stupid fouls. And so I counted it up before we went live. There was 32 throw-ins in this game, 27 fouls, 12 corner kicks, That's 71 times that the play was stopped in this game. 71 times is insane. How do you expect to have any rhythm, any flow to the game? And so that's why I credit the Union for being down a man and still finding a way to defend very, very well. Yes, Mazatlán was coming down their throats and putting all sorts of pressure on them, but the Union did a good job just to, like Jim Curtin said, survive and advance. And then the heroics by Andre Blake late in this game. You had the save in the 86th minute. You had the two saves and the penalty kick shootout. And I don't know about you guys, but I do feel pretty confident in the Union anytime they go into penalties now. And I'm probably going to regret saying that, but Andre Blake, he does a good job guessing which way the kickers are going to go. And a big credit to that goes to Phil Wedden, the goalkeeping coach, always pointing to Andre, okay, which way the kicker usually goes. Credit to Phil Wedden for the work that he does for just studying every single team's penalty kick takers and figuring out, all right, well, this is what you need to know, Andre. And then he points which way Andre should dive. And Andre came up with two huge saves last night. And I think when I was in Anaheim, I asked Phil Wedden about that, and he said, nope, I'm not taking any of this credit. The credit goes to Andre Blake. But yeah, they work really, really well together. And Andre Blake on the dupe with Sage Hurley talked about just all the coaches, current and past, that have meant so much in his career. And Phil Wedden, he's got to be up there as somebody that's meant so much to Andre Blake here in his career. And Phil Wedden's a legendary goalkeeping coach. So shout out Phil. But again, going back to my point, the Union dug in deep. And when you have 71 stoppages in a game, it's hard. And Jillian chimes in here and says, the margins are razor thin. Yes, Jim Curtin does say that all the time. She also did chime in here with their Twitter account handle at TOTWAG. Yes, gotta love your husband, Kyle, messing that up. Franco, I missed your comment here about José Martínez. Says honorable mentions, fingers up, Jose. One of my favorite pictures. Talking about José Martínez giving the New York City fans the middle finger. Yes, that was a legendary picture. I forget what fan took that. Ben Ross, maybe I want to say. I forget who took that picture, but yes, very, very legendary picture indeed. But again, yeah, Union dug in deep and did what they needed to do in the penalty kick shootout and just being down a man for the half of the game. But speaking of staying consistent and somebody digging in deep, Mikael Uhre, he's been really, really good here the last two games. Back-to-back games now with a goal. That's twice now this season that he scored in back-to-back games. He did that against Montreal and Miami in June. And one thing I found surprising is Mikael Uhre has only scored in back-to-back games once in his Philadelphia Union career. He did it in his first season in 2022 against Atlanta and New York Red Bulls. And he actually scored in 3 games against Atlanta, New York Red Bulls, and Orlando City. And so he has 2 times this season scoring in back-to-back games. And this is a player that gets a lot of crap, a lot of hate from fans because he's not scoring enough. But he does exactly that against Cincinnati, does that against Mazatlán. We talked about that here a little bit. And I never posted the clip of Mikael talking about his performance, about those conversations with Jim Curtin. So that is on me. Or let's actually see. I may be able to get this quick enough. Maybe not. Maybe not. Nah, I'm definitely not. So for people listening to this on the podcast, I had Mikael lined up to talk about his performances and having those conversations with Jim. And man, now I'm really disappointed in myself because I feel like we don't really get to hear from Mikael a lot. But I did post it on social media, so on Instagram and Twitter. So if you guys want to see that, but yeah, fantastic performance from Mikael Uhre. And hopefully he's going to need a big performance against Columbus with Ty Brubo being out. We heard Jim Curtin say that they're not going to appeal that. It makes no sense. They would never win that appeal. And so I hope Jim doesn't get too overthinking with his lineup and potentially putting Quinn Sullivan up top. Don't do it. I said it on AAT last night. I said, play Simon Dinneron. You only have him until the end of the season, and you want to see what you have in him. And so it makes sense. Play him as much as you can. I don't think we've seen the pairing of Sam and Mikael before. And so I'd be curious to see how those two do together up top. But this is a big opportunity for him to continue that hot form, because we know the form that Ty Burrito has been in, and it's unfortunate that he's going to miss this game against Columbus. But a lot of players have been stepping up lately here for the Union, and I don't see why players wouldn't continue to step up. But as we wrap up the show, we have two more clips to play. One more from Jim Curtin, and then we have one more from a player, or one from a player, Leon Flock. And so Jim Curtin was asked after the game, is this the only chance you guys have of winning a trophy? Does it feel like Leagues Cup's the only opportunity you guys have? And this is what Jim had to say.
When you talk about now, us as a club and where we're at, you're right. There will be changes, obviously, like there is with any team. I still say we did a great job of keeping our core group together. I think we're still going to have some young guys step up like they did this year. Like you had a Nathan, a Jack McGlynn, a Quinn Sullivan improve to where we're at the top in terms of homegrown minutes. I think you're going to see guys, even middle-aged guys, get a little bit better and have good seasons. I won't say that this is our only chance, to win a trophy. I see the direction, the trajectory of the league for sure. I'm not naive, and I watch and I look at what the trends are and who's going for what and the different ways teams are allocating resources. But I'll still take my group, man. In elimination games, we find a way. It's not always pretty or beautiful like tonight, but they do, to their credit, punch above their weight, and that's kind of what I'm in charge of getting them to do. Ultimately, the only thing that matters, though, is winning, Jonathan, and I say that as the starting point. We still want to develop players, but winning is the most important thing, and so I hope our fans understand that when I say it. And we're going to fight like hell in Columbus, and then who knows? We could host a final against a LAFC or Club America or Colorado or whoever it is. So big opportunity. Do you guys know where they're going to put that if it's Club America, by the way?
Here.
They've officially said that? Because I thought there might be maybe that lines up at the Rose Bowl or something, but.
Yeah, so it's the Union's best chance, I would say personally. You're 2 wins away from a trophy, and the main thing for this team is they have to be in CONCACAF Champions Cup next year. The amount of money that's on the line, the amount of exposure that is, and yes, it's rough, just like it is for Liga MX teams with Leagues Cup, with their season just starting down in Mexico, just like MLS is just starting during CONCACAF Champions Cup. It's difficult, and it's why we see MLS teams struggle majority of the time. And I guess that really wasn't the case for the Crew this season up until the final. But I do think that the Union's best chance this season is winning Leagues Cup. And we talked about it last show, or we talked about it on AAT Sports, I think it was. I forget. I mean, so many shows I'm appearing on, so many shows I'm doing. It all runs together. But if you told me that the Union are going to win Leagues Cup and not qualify for the playoffs or not win MLS Cup, I would be fine with that, honestly, because you qualify for Champions Cup, which is a must, in my opinion, every single season. And what do these players want? What do fans want? They want a trophy. And so, look, I think that would be the perfect way to cap off this core group of players, because let's look at it right here. You have Julian Kranza gone. José Martínez on the verge of being gone. Damian Lowe, Alejandro Bedoya, and Leon Flock all out of contract after this season. And you're talking about core players. You lost 2 core players in Julian and Jose. You could potentially lose a core player in Alejandro Bedoya if he decides to retire or if the Union don't want to bring him back. And then you could lose Leon Flock, who's been a core player for this team too. And you talk about being emotional for José Martínez being gone, emotional for Julian Kranza being gone. I mean, talk about the emotions for Alejandro Bedoya once he decides to hang it up, or Leon Flock. I know Leon's not at the same stature as Alejandro, but man, I mean, these are 2 players that mean so much. And as soon as Alejandro decides to hang up those boots, he's going in the ring of honor. I wouldn't be surprised if Ale says, "Nope, I'm retiring after the season." If the Union have his name up in the ring of honor before the end of the season, and they send him off that way, I would not be surprised if the club did that, because I mean, he's meant so much to this team. And so I asked Leon Flock prior to this game, does it put any more pressure? Do you feel a sense of extra pressure in the locker room with the players, with more and more players leaving, with players' contracts up at the end of the season. Do you feel like you guys feel like you have to win this trophy in League's Cup? And this is what Leon said.
Yeah, of course. And like you said, we lose players, but then I think what made us great is that somebody else will step up. For example, Ty is doing that, and then somebody else will do it now. But I think everybody of this team has proven that he belongs to this team. And I think if you are, like we have been in the last couple of years, we always have been really close to winning like big time trophies. And I think it's about time because you say like every team has maybe a championship window, and I think we have ours still. And I think there's nothing better to win a trophy and just to prove that we are a great team, which we are. And I think winning the trophy just shows everybody that you did something right throughout the whole year. And or like we did it probably over the last 4, 5, 6 years. And I think, we want to prove everybody maybe also wrong because there are also some doubts outside. And we want to show with winning a trophy that we did a lot of stuff actually right.
Yeah, and I talked about it at the beginning of the show where you feel bad for José Martínez not winning more trophies. And with so many players' futures up in the air, you feel like this is your best chance in League's Cup. You go all in for it. And not to say the Union can't go on a run in the playoffs. Yes, they're 1 point out of a playoff spot. But I do feel like the Union will carry this momentum that they've had in League's Cup over into the regular season and find a way to get into the playoffs. I'm not thinking the Union are going to be top 4 at all. I'd be shocked too if they wind up being 5th, but anywhere 6 through 8, yeah, I could see the Union doing that. But yeah, I mean, I would accept a trophy this season being just League's Cup and League's Cup only. Yes, the ultimate goal is MLS Cup, but I think we all notice this, and Jim Curtin actually mentioned it too in his post-game press conference where yeah, he's a little annoyed with, people in the media writing that, yeah, I mean, when you guys say we're running it back once again, no, these are good players that we're bringing back. And so he would get annoyed with that. And so I think you go all in on League's Cup, you're 2 away. And yes, you're going into Columbus, who I think I saw a stat. I said it last night on AAT Sports that ever since Wilfred Nancy has taken over as the manager in Columbus, they've only lost twice at Lower.com Field. They don't lose many times. But the Union were beating Columbus for majority of that game last season, give up a late penalty kick, and then wind up tying 1-1. So I feel confident going into Columbus this Wednesday. I hope the team feels confident. They should feel confident. 7 games unbeaten now. We're seeing the fight with this group, and you guys got to feel very, very confident with this team right now. A lot more confident than what was going on early in the summertime. But that's pretty much going to be it. We're not going to go over 3 stars. I think we can all agree that Andre Blake was man of the match. Some people, I'm sure, want to say José Martínez for his goal that he scored in the penalty shootout. Maybe Jesus Bueno. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not, but it is so loud with thunderstorms outside. So hopefully you guys aren't hearing that on the podcast, but maybe my mic's picking that up. But let's hope not. Let's hope not, because if it is, then it's not a good sign. But if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow at Free Kick Pod. Wherever you get your podcast, The Free Kick. Check out the YouTube channel. I know you guys are checking in live, some of you guys. YouTube.com/freekickpod. And check out the Substack, thefreekick.substack.com. Before we end the show, I want to go ahead and just shout out Jose Nunez for joining us live, Jillian for joining us live, Franco for joining us, and we had Bruce. Thank you guys all for commenting live on Twitter, YouTube. We're not live on Twitter yet. We will get there one day. Technically, it says we're streaming on Facebook, but every time I go to the Facebook page, I don't see it on there. So this is still a work in progress, live streaming. I hope that this can continue to get better. I mean, Riverside, that's the streaming software that I'm using. I mean, it seems like they have a lot of good ideas in place. I know a lot of people use StreamYard, but there was a lot that that Riverside had to offer. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you guys the benefit of the doubt. I know it's going to be a work in progress. You guys seem like you're constantly upgrading your product, but yeah, that there's been a learning curve to this, and it's not always been the easiest, but you guys are sticking through with me, and you guys showed up live tonight. I know I said 9 o'clock, and we wind up going live at like 9:40, but regardless, you guys were here, and I appreciate you guys a lot. So with that said, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.